Hello there, and welcome to Bedtime Science Stories. Tonight, we're stepping into a world that exists inside every living thing, yet is rarely seen or truly considered. Cell biology is the story of life at its smallest scale, where countless microscopic structures work together in unimaginable ways. They build bodies, thoughts, movement, and memory. Inside you right now, trillions of cells are active. They sense their surroundings and communicate with neighbors. They repair damage and make decisions that shape every moment of your life. It is dynamic, responsive, and deeply creative. Cells can even sacrifice themselves for the greater good. From the first moments of life to the quiet moments of rest, you are always at work. As you listen, you may begin to notice life differently. Not as something solid and fixed, but as a living flow of activity, balance, and renewal happening far below the surface. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, or share a thought below. Your support helps others find their way here too. One sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is relax. Let your body soften. Allow your eyes to grow heavy, and let your mind gently unwind as we explore this microscopic world together. Let's begin. Revenge has been part of human stories for thousands of years. Yet tonight, we will explore it softly, as if each thought were a drifting cloud across the night sky. In ancient languages, the word for revenge often carried meanings of balance and restoration. Not only punishment, but a quiet attempt to make the world feel whole again. Philosophers have long whispered that revenge is like a shadow. It follows the one who seeks it, even when the light of peace is near. Across cultures, revenge has been described as fire, as ice, as a storm. But in the stillness of night, it becomes only a story, a reflection, a passing thought. And so, as you rest, we will wander through 100 sleepy facts about revenge. Not to stir anger, but to let knowledge drift gently into dreams. In the quiet canopy of the forest, crows watch with patient eyes. These birds are known to remember faces, holding onto impressions for years. If someone harms them, they do not forget. Instead, they carry the memory like a pebble tucked away in a stream, waiting for the right moment to let it ripple outward. Sometimes they gather together, sharing warnings with their flock. It is as if the forest itself whispers of balance, reminding us that actions echo. The crow's memory is not harsh, but steady, like the rhythm of wings against the sky. In their persistence, we see a form of natural justice. Revenge here is not fiery or sudden, but slow and deliberate. It is carried in silence, in the way they turn their gaze, in the way they return. The forest holds their story, and the night carries it gently forward. Elephants, with their vast memories, carry grief like rivers that never run dry. When a member of their herd is harmed, they sometimes return to the place of loss, lingering as if to honor what was taken. Their actions are not loud, but deeply felt. They may confront those who caused harm, not in rage, but in a solemn act of remembrance. The herd moves together, their footsteps heavy with meaning. Revenge, for elephants, is tied to love and loyalty. It is the echo of bonds that cannot be broken. Their response is not only about balance, but about carrying the weight of memory. In their eyes, we see the depth of feeling that stretches across generations. The savanna becomes a stage for their quiet rituals. And in the stillness, their presence reminds us that revenge can be a form of mourning, a way of keeping the past alive. Among the waters, fish sometimes retaliate against those who disturb their peace. A small act, a nip, a chase, a reminder that balance must be restored. It is not grand or dramatic, but subtle, like ripples spreading across a pond. Their movements are swift yet calm, as if guided by instinct rather than anger. Revenge here is a whisper, not a roar. It is nature's way of saying, every action has a response. The water carries their message, flowing endlessly, reflecting the moonlight above. In their world, revenge is not cruelty, but correction. It is the gentle push that keeps the circle whole. And as the fish glide back into the depths, the pond returns to silence, holding the memory of what has passed. Bees, too, remind us of nature's balance. When threatened, they sting, sacrificing themselves in the act. Their revenge is brief but powerful. It is a final gesture, a defense of the hive, a declaration that life must be protected. The sting is sharp, yet the meaning is deeper. It speaks of community, of devotion, of the willingness to give everything for the greater good. Revenge here is not selfish, but collective. It is the hive's way of surviving, of ensuring that the rhythm of buzzing continues. The meadow hums with their presence, golden in the sunlight, soft in the twilight. And when the sting fades, the memory remains, carried in the air like pollen drifting on the breeze. Plants, though rooted and silent, have their own forms of revenge. Some release chemicals into the soil, preventing rivals from growing nearby. This quiet act of defense is unseen, yet powerful. It is a reminder that even the stillest beings have ways of protecting themselves. The earth absorbs their message, carrying it through roots and stones. Revenge here is not violent, but patient. It unfolds slowly, over seasons, shaping the landscape in subtle ways. The forest floor becomes a tapestry of competition and resilience. And in the silence of night, the plants continue their work, unseen guardians of their space. Their revenge is not anger, but survival, a quiet insistence on life. Wolves live by the rhythm of the pack, and when one is harmed, the others remember. Their loyalty is fierce, and their responses can echo across seasons. Revenge here is not a sudden strike, but a collective memory, carried in the way they hunt and protect. The forest becomes their stage, each howl a reminder of bonds unbroken. Their retaliation is not only survival, but a declaration of unity. In the silence of snow, their footsteps mark a path of remembrance. The pack moves as one, carrying the weight of justice. Their revenge is not rage, but balance, restoring what was lost. It is the quiet persistence of nature's law, written in paw prints across the earth. Dolphins, playful and intelligent, sometimes show revenge in the waves. When one is mistreated, they may return with coordinated actions, reminding the offender of their strength. Their movements are graceful, yet deliberate, weaving through the water like dancers with purpose. Revenge here is not chaos, but choreography. It is the ocean's way of teaching respect. The sea carries their message, each splash a note in a larger song. Their retaliation is not cruel, but calculated, shaped by memory and connection. In their world, revenge is a ripple that grows into a wave. And when the tide settles, the dolphins swim on, leaving behind a lesson carried in salt and foam. Primates, close to us in spirit, often show revenge in subtle ways. A stolen piece of fruit may lead to a withheld gesture of kindness later. Their communities are built on memory, on the quiet balance of give and take. Revenge here is not dramatic, but woven into daily life. It is the pause before sharing, the glance that lingers, the silence that speaks. Their actions remind us that justice can be small, yet meaningful. The jungle hums with their presence, each branch a stage for their quiet theater. Revenge is not destruction, but correction, a way of keeping the circle whole. And in their eyes, we see reflections of our own instincts, softened by the rhythm of nature. Cats, both wild and domestic, carry revenge in their silence. A slight may be answered with a withheld purr, a delayed return, a quiet distance. Their actions are subtle yet unmistakable. Revenge here is not loud, but whispered in absence. It is the pause in affection, the slow turning away. Their world is built on patience, on waiting for the right moment. The night becomes their ally, each shadow a reminder of their independence. Revenge is not anger, but choice, a way of showing that balance matters. And when they return, it is on their own terms, carrying dignity like a crown. Ants, though small, remind us of collective strength. When their colony is disturbed, they respond with coordinated defense. Their revenge is not individual, but communal, a tide of movement across the earth. Each ant carries purpose, each step a declaration of resilience. Revenge here is not fury, but order, shaped by instinct and unity. The soil trembles with their presence, tiny warriors of balance. Their retaliation is swift, yet precise, restoring the rhythm of their world. And when the danger passes, they return to their work, carrying grains of sand, building futures unseen. Revenge is not an end, but a continuation, a reminder that even the smallest beings hold power. Octopuses, masters of disguise, sometimes show revenge in clever ways. A wrong done to them may be answered with a spray of water, a sudden retreat, a withheld cooperation. Their intelligence shapes their responses, weaving thought into action. Revenge here is not brute force, but creativity. The ocean floor becomes their canvas, each gesture a brushstroke of meaning. Their retaliation is playful, yet purposeful, reminding us that memory lives even in the deep. The sea holds their secrets, each ripple carrying a story, and when they vanish into camouflage, their revenge lingers, unseen but felt. Ravens, cousins of crows, carry revenge in their cunning. They may hide food from rivals or return to taunt those who wrong them. Their intelligence shapes their choices, weaving strategy into survival. Revenge here is not chaos, but calculation. The sky becomes their stage, each flight a gesture of meaning. Their calls echo across valleys, carrying messages of memory. Revenge is not destruction, but reminder, a way of teaching respect. And when they soar into the horizon, their presence lingers, a shadow of balance across the land. Snakes, silent and patient, embody revenge in their strikes. They wait, coiled, watching, holding still until the moment arrives. Their retaliation is swift, precise, shaped by instinct. Revenge here is not rage, but timing, the art of patience rewarded. The desert holds their silence, each grain of sand a witness. Their strike is not cruelty, but correction, a reminder of boundaries. And when they slip back into the earth, the memory remains, carried in the stillness of the night. Monkeys, playful yet sharp, sometimes retaliate with mischief. A stolen item may be answered with a trick, a chase, a sudden gesture. Their revenge is laughter mixed with lesson, a reminder that balance can be playful. The jungle echoes with their calls, each sound a note in their orchestra. Revenge here is not destruction, but humor, a way of restoring dignity. Their actions remind us that justice can be light, carried in joy as well as sorrow. And when they swing away, the branches hold their memory, rustling softly in the wind. Nature itself carries revenge in cycles. A storm may follow drought, restoring balance with rain. Fire may clear the forest, making way for new growth. Revenge here is not personal but cosmic, the earth's way of correcting imbalance. The seasons turn, each one a reminder of renewal. The sky holds its rhythm, the soil its patience. Revenge is not anger, but restoration, a quiet insistence on harmony. And as the world continues its flow, we see that revenge in nature is always tied to balance, always leading back to life. In the myths of ancient Greece, revenge was often personified by the goddess Nemesis. She moved quietly, ensuring that pride and arrogance were balanced by consequence. Her presence was not loud, but steady, like the rhythm of tides against the shore. Nemesis reminded mortals that every action carried weight, and that balance was the law of the cosmos. Revenge here was not chaos, but correction, a gentle hand guiding the scales of justice. In the stillness of myth, her shadow lingers, reminding us that even gods believed in balance. Her story is not one of anger, but of inevitability, a whisper that harmony must always return. In Rome, feuds between families sometimes stretched across generations. Revenge was not a single act, but a chain of responses, each linked to the last. The city itself became a stage for these quiet dramas, its stones holding memories of conflict. Yet even in these stories, revenge was often tempered by ritual, by law, by the slow rhythm of tradition. It was not only about punishment, but about restoring honor. The Roman world carried revenge like a torch, passing it from hand to hand, illuminating the path of history. And in the silence of ruins, those echoes remain, soft reminders of human persistence. In Egypt, myths spoke of gods who avenged wrongs with patience and precision. Horus, the falcon god, sought revenge against Set for the death of his father Osiris. Their struggle was not sudden, but stretched across time, each act a reflection of cosmic balance. Revenge here was tied to the rhythm of the Nile, flowing endlessly, carrying life and justice together. The temples held their stories, carved in stone, whispered in ritual. Revenge was not destruction, but restoration, a way of ensuring that order triumphed over chaos. And in the desert silence, their myth continues, a gentle reminder of balance eternal. In the sagas of ancient China, revenge was often framed as filial duty. A son avenging his father was seen not as anger, but as devotion. The act carried honor, binding generations together. Revenge here was not selfish, but communal, a thread woven into the fabric of family. The bamboo forests held these stories, each rustle a reminder of loyalty. Revenge was not a storm, but a steady wind, carrying respect across time. And in the stillness of night, those tales linger, soft as lantern light, guiding memory forward. In Greek tragedies, revenge was a central theme, unfolding slowly on stage. Plays like Orestes showed families caught in cycles of retaliation. Each act was deliberate, each pause heavy with meaning. Revenge here was not sudden, but ritualized, shaped by chorus and fate. The theater became a mirror, reflecting human struggle in shadows and song. Revenge was not only about justice, but about the weight of destiny. And as the audience listened, they too became part of the rhythm, carried into the quiet flow of story. The echoes of those plays remain, soft reminders of balance sought and balance lost. In Mesopotamian myths, gods and kings often sought revenge to restore order. The stories were carved into clay tablets, their words flowing like rivers of memory. Revenge here was tied to cosmic law, to the balance between chaos and creation. Each act was deliberate, each gesture a reminder of harmony. The temples held these tales, their walls whispering of justice. Revenge was not fury, but correction, a way of keeping the world whole. And in the silence of ancient sands, those stories remain, gentle echoes of balance eternal. In Norse mythology, revenge was woven into the fabric of fate. The gods themselves were bound by cycles of retaliation, leading toward Ragnarok, the twilight of the world. Revenge here was not choice, but destiny, carried like a thread through the loom of time. The sagas spoke of warriors avenging kin, of gods avenging wrongs, each act tied to honor. The northern winds carried these tales, cold yet steady, whispering of inevitability. Revenge was not chaos, but part of the rhythm of existence. And in the silence of snow, those stories linger, soft as frost upon stone. In the ancient world, duels were often seen as acts of revenge, two individuals meeting in silence, their weapons reflecting honor and balance. Revenge here was not cruelty, but ritual, a way of restoring dignity. The ground beneath them held the memory of each step, each strike. The duel was not only about victory, but about closure, about ending cycles of grievance. And when the fight was done, silence returned, carrying the weight of justice into the night. In the myths of India, revenge was often tied to dharma, the cosmic law of duty. Heroes avenged wrongs not for themselves, but for the balance of the universe. Revenge here was not anger, but devotion, a way of keeping the world aligned. The epic spoke of battles fought for justice, each act a reflection of cosmic order. The rivers carried these stories, flowing endlessly, whispering of harmony. Revenge was not destruction, but restoration, a gentle insistence on balance. And in the stillness of temples, those echoes remain, soft as prayer. In the stories of the Celts, revenge was tied to honor and kinship. Warriors avenged their families with solemn acts, carried out beneath the stars. Revenge here was not rage, but ritual, shaped by tradition and song. The hills held their memories, each stone a witness to justice. Revenge was not chaos, but balance, a way of keeping the circle whole. And in the silence of night, their stories linger, soft as mist upon the land. In ancient Japan, revenge was often framed as loyalty. Samurai avenged their masters with patience and precision, waiting for the right moment. Revenge here was not fury, but discipline, shaped by honor and ritual. The cherry blossoms carried their stories, each petal a reminder of devotion. Revenge was not destruction, but duty, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the stillness of gardens, those echoes remain, soft as falling petals. In the myths of Persia, revenge was tied to cosmic struggle. Heroes avenged wrongs to restore light against darkness. Revenge here was not anger, but balance, a way of keeping the world aligned. The desert winds carried these tales, each grain of sand a witness. Revenge was not chaos, but correction, a gentle insistence on harmony. And in the silence of night, those stories linger, soft as stars upon the horizon. In the legends of Greece, the Furies embodied revenge. They moved silently, punishing those who broke sacred laws. Revenge here was not rage, but inevitability, carried like a shadow. The earth held their presence, each step a reminder of justice. Revenge was not destruction, but balance, a way of keeping the world whole. And in the silence of myth, their whispers remain, soft as wind through stone. In the ancient world, revenge was often tied to ritual sacrifice. Acts of retaliation were carried out with solemn ceremony, binding communities together. Revenge here was not chaos, but ritual, shaped by tradition and belief. The fire carried their stories, each flame a reminder of balance. Revenge was not fury, but correction, a way of keeping the circle whole. And in the silence of ashes, those echoes remain, soft as smoke upon the air. In the myths of many cultures, revenge was seen as a cosmic law. It was not only about humans, but about gods, spirits, and the universe itself. Revenge here was not anger, but inevitability, carried like a river through time. The stories remind us that balance must always return, that harmony is the rhythm of existence. Revenge was not destruction, but restoration, a gentle insistence on justice. And in the silence of myth, those whispers remain, soft as dreams upon the night. In Shakespeare's Hamlet, revenge is not a sword raised in haste, but a thought carried in silence. Hamlet lingers, hesitates, questions, and doubts. His revenge becomes a meditation on the human condition, a mirror of indecision. Each soliloquy is a pause, a breath, a reflection of the mind's endless turning. Revenge here is not a strike, but a journey inward. The stage becomes a quiet chamber of thought, where shadows of justice and doubt dance together. Hamlet's revenge is not only against his uncle, but against the silence of uncertainty itself. His hesitation stretches across the play like a long twilight, neither day nor night. The audience watches, waiting, feeling the weight of delay. Revenge is not fury, but contemplation, a slow unfolding of destiny. And in the end, the story reminds us that revenge can be as much about thought as about action, as much about silence as about speech. It is a whisper of balance, carried softly through time. In Titus Andronicus, Shakespeare painted revenge in vivid strokes of tragedy. Families torn apart, cycles of retaliation spiraling endlessly, each act echoing louder than the last. Yet even in its violence, the play whispers of futility. Revenge here is not triumph, but collapse, a reminder that cycles consume themselves. The stage becomes a mirror of human excess, each gesture heavy with consequence. Revenge is not only about justice, but about the weight of grief, the burden of memory. The characters move like shadows, bound by destiny, unable to escape the circle they have drawn. Each act of revenge leads only to another until silence falls. And when the curtain closes, the audience is left with emptiness, with the quiet realization that revenge is not victory, but shadow. It lingers, heavy, soft, reminding us that cycles of harm lead only to silence. In Alexander Dumas' The Count of Monte Cristo, revenge is patient, unfolding like a tide that waits for the moon. Edmond Dantes waits, plans, and transforms himself into a figure of destiny. His revenge is not sudden, but meticulous, shaped by years of silence and thought. Each act is deliberate, each gesture a thread in a larger tapestry. Revenge here is not chaos, but design, a slow weaving of justice. Yet even in triumph, the story reminds us of cost, of emptiness that lingers when balance is restored. Revenge is not only about punishment, but about transformation, about becoming something new. Dante's journey is as much about identity as about justice. His revenge is a mask, a role, a shadow. And when the mask falls, silence remains, reminding us that revenge is not fulfillment, but release. It is a tide that rises, flows, and fades, leaving the shore quiet once more. In Greek tragedies, revenge moves like fate itself. Characters bound by prophecy, by cycles of family vengeance, walk paths they cannot escape. Revenge here is not choice, but destiny, carried like a thread through the loom of time. The chorus sings softly of inevitability, of balance returning. Each act is heavy, each silence profound. Revenge is not fury, but law, written into the fabric of existence. The audience watches, knowing the end before it arrives, yet feeling the weight of each step. Revenge is not sudden, but slow, unfolding like twilight. And when the play ends, silence falls, carrying the weight of inevitability. Revenge is not triumph, but rhythm, a reminder that balance must always return. It is a whisper of destiny, soft as wind through stone. In folk tales, revenge often carries lessons. A trickster wronged may return with cleverness, teaching humility through laughter. Revenge here is not destruction, but wisdom, a way of guiding communities. The firelight carries these stories, each spark a reminder of balance. Revenge is not anger, but teaching, a gentle correction wrapped in narrative. The tale unfolds slowly, each word a step into reflection. Listeners lean closer, feeling the warmth of story. Revenge is not fury, but guidance, a way of shaping hearts. And in the silence after the tale, the lesson lingers, soft as dream. Revenge becomes memory, carried into sleep, reminding us that balance is gentle. In medieval ballads, revenge was not shouted, but sung. Voices carried across fields and halls, weaving stories of knights and kin. Each verse was a step, each refrain a reminder of justice. Revenge here was not fury, but ritual, shaped by honor and tradition. The ballad lingered in memory, soft as candlelight, carrying the story forward. Knights avenged wrongs with solemn acts, bound by loyalty and duty. Their swords were not only weapons, but symbols of balance. The music carried dignity, flowing gently into the night. Revenge was not chaos, but harmony, woven into melody. Each note was a breath, each pause a silence. The ballad became a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. And when the song ended, silence held the story, soft as breath. Revenge was not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping honor alive. The echoes lingered, carried by wind, by memory, by dream. And in the stillness of night, the ballad remained, whispering softly of justice. In epic poetry, revenge stretched across generations, flowing like rivers that never ceased. Heroes avenged fathers, sons avenged mothers, cycles carried forward endlessly. Revenge here was not sudden, but eternal, woven into verse. Each line was a stone, each stanza a step into destiny. The words carried weight, heavy with memory, heavy with grief. Revenge was not fury, but continuity, a way of keeping bonds alive. The epic unfolded slowly, each chapter a breath, each pause a silence. Revenge was not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping the circle whole. The story became a river, flowing endlessly, carrying justice forward. Each act was deliberate, each gesture a reminder of balance. Revenge was not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping memory alive. And in the silence between stanzas, the story lingered, soft as wind across water. The epic became a mirror, reflecting human longing for justice. And when the poem ended, silence carried the story onward, soft as dream. In myths, revenge was often divine, carried by gods and spirits. Mortals wronged were punished with storms, with silence, with transformation. Revenge here was not anger, but cosmic correction, a way of keeping balance. The sky carried their stories, each star a reminder of justice. Revenge was not destruction, but restoration, a gentle insistence on harmony. The myth unfolded slowly, each word a step into eternity. Revenge was not fury, but inevitability, a whisper of balance. The gods moved silently, shaping destiny, shaping memory. Revenge was not chaos, but law, written into the fabric of existence. Each act was deliberate, each gesture a reminder of order. The myth became a mirror, reflecting cosmic rhythm. And in the silence of night, those myths remained, soft as dreams upon the horizon. Revenge was not only about mortals, but about the universe itself. It was a whisper of balance, carried softly through time. In modern novels, revenge often became psychological, unfolding within the mind. Characters wrestled with memory, with grief, with the quiet urge to restore balance. Revenge here was not only external but internal, a journey through thought. The pages carried whispers of justice, each word a step into reflection. Revenge was not fury, but meditation, a way of exploring the human mind. The novel unfolded slowly, each chapter a breath, each pause a silence. Revenge was not chaos, but contemplation, a way of keeping memory alive. The characters moved softly, shaped by thought, shaped by shadow. Revenge was not destruction, but reflection, a way of keeping wounds alive. The novel became a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. And when the book closed, silence held the lesson, soft as breath. Revenge was not fulfillment, but reminder, a whisper of justice carried forward. The story lingered, carried by memory, carried by dream. And in the stillness of thought, revenge remained, soft as shadow. In fairy tales, revenge was softened into justice, carried by magic and morality. Wicked characters faced consequences, not through fury, but through balance. Revenge here was gentle, shaped by story, shaped by lesson. The tale unfolded slowly, each word a spark of wisdom. Revenge was not destruction, but teaching, a way of guiding hearts. The firelight carried these stories, each spark a reminder of balance. Revenge was not fury, but correction, a way of keeping the circle whole. The tale became a mirror, reflecting human longing for justice. Children listened, their eyes wide, their hearts soft. Revenge was not chaos, but guidance, a way of shaping memory. The story lingered, carried into sleep, carried into dream. Revenge was not anger, but teaching, a gentle correction wrapped in narrative. And in the silence after the tale, the lesson remained, soft as breath. The fairy tale became a whisper, reminding us that balance is gentle. And in the stillness of night, the story remained, soft as dream. In Renaissance literature, revenge was often tied to honor, carried like a torch through the corridors of tradition. Characters avenged insults with patience, with ritual, with solemnity. Revenge here was not chaos, but discipline, shaped by dignity and restraint. The words carried weight, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge was not fury, but correction, a way of keeping the circle whole. The literature unfolded slowly, each line a step into reflection. Revenge was not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping honor alive. The plays and poems of the Renaissance became mirrors, reflecting human longing for justice. Each act of revenge was deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. Revenge was not sudden, but ritualized, shaped by tradition and law. The stories carried dignity, flowing gently into memory. Revenge was not chaos, but order, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of verse, those echoes remained, soft as candlelight. The Renaissance taught that revenge was not only about justice, but about the preservation of honor, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In Gothic novels, revenge moved like shadow, silent and haunting. Characters wronged carried their vengeance into silence, into mystery, into the dim corridors of castles. Revenge here was not loud, but whispered, shaped by atmosphere. The pages carried darkness, each word a flicker of candlelight. Revenge was not fury, but presence, a way of keeping memory alive. The novel unfolded slowly, each chapter a breath, each pause a silence. Revenge was not chaos, but shadow, a way of keeping wounds alive. The Gothic hall became a mirror, reflecting human longing for justice. Each act of revenge was deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. Revenge was not sudden, but lingering, shaped by silence and shadow. The story carried mystery, flowing gently into memory. Revenge was not destruction, but haunting, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of the Gothic hall, those whispers remained, soft as mist. The Gothic taught that revenge was not only about justice, but about the persistence of memory, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In romantic literature, revenge was softened by love, carried like a flame through the corridors of feeling. Characters avenged wrongs not only for justice, but for devotion. Revenge here was not fury, but passion, shaped by tenderness. The words carried warmth, each phrase a reminder of loyalty. Revenge was not destruction, but devotion, a way of keeping bonds alive. The literature unfolded slowly, each line a step into reflection. Revenge was not chaos, but love, a way of keeping memory alive. The romantic poem became a mirror, reflecting human longing for justice. Each act of revenge was deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. Revenge was not sudden, but lingering, shaped by love and devotion. The story carried tenderness, flowing gently into memory. Revenge was not fury, but passion, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of verse, those echoes remained, soft as heartbeats. The romantic taught that revenge was not only about justice, but about the persistence of love, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In satire, revenge took the form of laughter, carried like a spark through the corridors of wit. Writers avenged wrongs with irony, with humor, with gentle correction. Revenge here was not fury, but wisdom, shaped by lightness. The words carried joy, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge was not destruction, but teaching, a way of guiding thought. The satire unfolded slowly, each line a step into reflection. Revenge was not chaos, but laughter, a way of keeping memory alive. The satirical essay became a mirror, reflecting human longing for justice. Each act of revenge was deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. Revenge was not sudden, but lingering, shaped by wit and wisdom. The story carried humor, flowing gently into memory. Revenge was not fury, but laughter, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence after laughter, the lesson remained, soft as memory. Satire taught that revenge was not only about justice, but about the persistence of wisdom, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In literature across centuries, revenge has always been a mirror, reflecting human longing, human grief, human balance. Revenge here was not only about justice, but about memory, about the quiet rhythm of existence. The words carried weight, each story a reminder of harmony. Revenge was not fury, but reflection, a way of keeping the world whole. The literature unfolded slowly, each line a step into eternity. Revenge was not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. The story became a mirror, reflecting human longing for justice. Each act of revenge was deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. Revenge was not sudden, but lingering, shaped by silence and shadow. The story carried wisdom, flowing gently into memory. Revenge was not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence after the tale, those echoes remained, soft as dreams upon the night. Literature taught that revenge was not only about justice, but about the persistence of memory, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. Revenge often begins as a reflection, a mirror held up to the wound of betrayal. The mind, bruised by injustice, seeks symmetry, a balancing of scales that feels as natural as gravity pulling a stone back to earth. Yet this mirror distorts. It magnifies the hurt, turning a single insult into a storm cloud that darkens the horizon. Psychologists describe revenge as a form of displaced healing, where the injured person tries to stitch their wound by cutting another. It is like pouring salt water into a cracked vase, momentarily filling it, but leaving it fragile and leaking. The desire for revenge is not born in malice alone. It is often rooted in the yearning for dignity, for the restoration of self-worth. But the mirror of pain rarely shows the whole truth. It reflects only the injury, not the broader landscape of life where healing can grow. In this way, revenge becomes a narrow tunnel, guiding vision toward retaliation while hiding paths of forgiveness. The act of revenge may feel like reclaiming power, but it often chains the avenger to the very hurt they wish to escape. Like a shadow, revenge follows the injured, lengthening as the sun of time moves. And just as shadows vanish in darkness, revenge loses meaning when compassion enters. The mirror shatters, leaving shards that cut both hands, the one who holds it and the one who is reflected. Thus, revenge is less a solution than a cycle, a mirror that traps pain instead of releasing it. Revenge is often compared to fire, a flame sparked by injustice and fanned by memory. In psychology, this fire represents the emotional intensity of anger, which consumes rational thought like dry wood in a furnace. The avenger believes the blaze will warm them, restoring balance and dignity. Yet fire does not discriminate. It burns the hand that lights it as easily as the target it seeks. Neuroscience shows that revenge activates reward centers in the brain, releasing dopamine like sparks in the night. But this reward is fleeting, a flash of heat that quickly fades into smoke. The fire leaves ashes, residues of guilt, emptiness, or renewed hostility. Like a forest fire, revenge spreads beyond its intended boundaries, igniting conflicts that were dormant. The flame may seem controlled at first, but it often leaps fences, consuming relationships, reputations, and peace of mind. Psychologists warn that revenge rarely extinguishes the original pain. Instead, it transforms it into a cycle of burning and rebuilding. The fire metaphor reminds us that revenge is not a candle of justice, but a wildfire of destruction. And while flames can illuminate, they more often blind, leaving the avenger stumbling in smoke. Thus, revenge is a fire that promises warmth but delivers ruin, a blaze that consumes more than it restores. Revenge can be imagined as a chalice filled with poison, tempting the injured to drink deeply in hopes of quenching their thirst for justice. Psychology views this as a paradox. The act of revenge feels like nourishment but is toxic to the soul. The chalice is ornate, decorated with the illusion of fairness, yet its contents corrode the drinker from within. Studies show that those who pursue revenge often experience prolonged stress, anxiety, and rumination, as if sipping poison slowly over time. The taste may be sweet at first, flavored with triumph, but bitterness soon follows. The poison does not remain contained. It seeps into relationships, coloring interactions with suspicion and hostility. Like venom coursing through veins, revenge spreads silently, weakening resilience and empathy. The chalice metaphor highlights the self-destructive nature of revenge. One believes they are punishing another, but they are drinking from the same cup. In this way, revenge becomes a ritual of harm disguised as justice. The poison chalice is passed from hand to hand, perpetuating cycles of retaliation across families, communities, and nations. Psychology teaches that true healing lies in setting the chalice aside, refusing the drink, and seeking water from wells of forgiveness. Yet the chalice remains tempting, shimmering in the light of anger, waiting for the wounded to lift it once more. Revenge often masquerades as a debt collector, knocking at the door of the mind with a ledger of wrongs. The psyche tallies insults and betrayals like unpaid bills, demanding repayment with interest. This metaphor reflects the psychological drive for fairness, the deep human need to balance accounts. Yet revenge is a collector who never closes the book. Each payment only leads to new charges. The ledger grows heavier, filled not with justice but with cycles of retaliation. Psychologists note that revenge prolongs emotional debt, keeping the injured tied to the offender through constant recollection. It is as if the collector chains both debtor and creditor together, dragging them through time. The pursuit of repayment may feel righteous, but it rarely clears the balance. Instead, it creates a spiral of debts, where each act of revenge generates new grievances. The collector's knock becomes endless, echoing in the mind long after the original injury. In this way, revenge is less about closure and more about perpetual accounting. The metaphor reminds us that some debts cannot be paid with retaliation. They require forgiveness, a cancellation of the ledger. Only then can the collector leave, and the mind rest free of its endless calculations. Revenge can be seen as a boomerang, hurled with force toward the offender but destined to return to the thrower. Psychology emphasizes this cyclical nature. The act of revenge often rebounds, bringing consequences back to the avenger. The boomerang metaphor captures the illusion of control. The thrower believes they direct its path, yet its curve is inevitable. Neuroscience shows that revenge prolongs emotional arousal, keeping the brain locked in loops of anger and rumination. Like a boomerang spinning through air, revenge circles back, striking the thrower with guilt, regret, or renewed conflict. The avenger may feel momentary satisfaction, but the return impact is often heavier than expected. Relationships fracture, reputations suffer, and peace of mind erodes. The boomerang does not fly in straight lines. It arcs unpredictably, sometimes hitting harder than intended. Psychologists warn that revenge binds the avenger to the offender, tethering them in a dance of pursuit and return. The metaphor reminds us that revenge is not a weapon of justice but a tool of entrapment. To throw it is to invite its return, to risk being struck by one's own anger. Only by setting the boomerang down, refusing to hurl it, can the cycle be broken. Thus, revenge is a curved path, a weapon that circles back, teaching that harm sent outward often finds its way home. In many literary works, revenge is portrayed as a storm within the soul. Characters who pursue vengeance often carry tension in their bodies, their words sharp, their movements restless. The pages describe racing hearts, sleepless nights, and minds consumed by thought. Revenge here is not soothing, but stirring, a tempest that grows heavier with each act. The storm clouds gather in silence, heavy with memory, heavy with grief. Writers show us that revenge is not healing, but burden, a weight upon the spirit. Each scene becomes a mirror, reflecting the toll of anger. Revenge is not triumph, but exhaustion, a shadow that lingers long after the act. The storm passes, but the sky remains clouded, carrying the memory of harm. Literature whispers that revenge is not peace, but unrest, a rhythm that consumes energy. And in the silence after the storm, the reader feels the emptiness left behind. Revenge is not fulfillment, but fatigue, a reminder that balance lies elsewhere. The story becomes a lesson, soft as twilight, teaching that calm is the true reward. Writers often show revenge as a mask, hiding deeper wounds beneath. Characters wear anger like armor, concealing grief, longing, or sorrow. Revenge is the surface, the shadow, the echo, while the true wound lies beneath. The mask is heavy, carried across chapters, across scenes. Literature reminds us that revenge is not the source, but the symptom, a reflection of deeper pain. Each act of vengeance is a gesture, but beneath it lies silence, a whisper of hurt. The mask grows heavier, shaping identity, shaping destiny. Revenge is not healing, but hiding, a way of carrying wounds forward. The story unfolds slowly, each line a step into shadow. Readers see the mask, but also glimpse the wound beneath. Revenge is not triumph, but concealment, a way of keeping grief alive. And in the silence of thought, the mask whispers, reminding us that care is the truer path. Literature teaches that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of sorrow, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. Many novels describe revenge as empowering, yet the power fades quickly. Characters feel control, dignity, strength as they strike back. For a moment, revenge glows like fire, bright and consuming. Yet the flame dies, leaving darkness behind. Empowerment built on anger is shallow, fleeting, fragile. Revenge here is not strength, but illusion, a shadow of control. The story unfolds slowly, each act a flicker, each pause a silence. Literature reminds us that true power is not found in vengeance, but in peace. The characters carry the illusion, heavy with emptiness. Revenge is not triumph, but shadow, fading into silence. The novel becomes a mirror, reflecting human longing for control. And in the quiet after, the reader feels the emptiness left behind. Revenge is not fulfillment, but illusion, a whisper of strength carried softly through time. The story lingers, teaching that peace is the truer power, soft as dawn. Writers often describe revenge as a cycle, a wheel turning endlessly. One act leads to another, each response feeding the next. The cycle spins across chapters, across generations, consuming characters and families. Revenge here is not closure, but continuation, a rhythm without end. The wheel grows heavy, the path worn, the story repeating itself. Literature shows us that revenge is not progress, but repetition, a circle that consumes energy. Each act of vengeance is a step, but the path leads only back to itself. The story unfolds slowly, each line a reminder of inevitability. Revenge is not triumph, but exhaustion, a shadow that lingers. The novel becomes a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. And in the silence after, the reader feels the weight of repetition. Revenge is not fulfillment, but cycle, a whisper of destiny carried softly through time. The story lingers, teaching that peace is the truer destination, soft as horizon. Literature often shows revenge as a distortion of memory. Characters recall harm more vividly, replaying it with sharper edges. Revenge sharpens the past, carving it deeper into thought. The memory grows heavy, carried forward like a stone. Revenge here is not healing, but engraving, a way of keeping wounds alive. The story unfolds slowly, each line a step into shadow. Writers remind us that revenge is not release, but burden, a way of carrying harm forward. The stone grows heavier, shaping destiny, shaping identity. Revenge is not triumph, but weight, a shadow upon the soul. The novel becomes a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. And in the silence of night, the stone rests, reminding us that release is lighter than carrying. Revenge is not fulfillment, but burden, a whisper of memory carried softly through time. The story lingers, teaching that forgiveness is the truer release, soft as dawn. Psychologists often note that revenge delays healing, holding the wound open longer than necessary. The mind lingers on harm, replaying it like a song stuck in repetition. Each thought is a pause, each memory a hesitation, keeping the wound fresh. Revenge here is not closure, but pause, a way of holding pain in place. The pause grows long, stretching across days, weeks, years. Healing waits, patient, gentle, steady, like dawn waiting beyond the horizon. The mind circles back, tethered to the past, unable to step forward. Revenge is not progress, but delay, a shadow upon the path. The story of healing is postponed, the journey slowed, and in the silence of thought, the wound whispers, asking not for retaliation, but for care. Revenge is not triumph, but hesitation, a rhythm that consumes time. The pause becomes heavy, shaping identity, shaping destiny. And when the pause ends, healing begins, soft as sunrise. Literature and psychology alike remind us that revenge is not release, but restraint, a whisper of delay carried softly through time. Psychologists suggest that revenge can isolate, turning the mind inward. Anger becomes a wall, built stone by stone, separating the self from others. Revenge is not connection, but solitude, a shadow upon the heart. The wall grows tall, blocking light, blocking warmth. The mind lingers behind it, waiting for release. Revenge here is not community, but separation, a rhythm of loneliness. Each act of vengeance deepens the wall, making silence heavier. The story unfolds slowly, each line a step into solitude. Revenge is not triumph, but isolation, a way of keeping grief alive. The wall becomes a mirror, reflecting only the self, only the wound. And in the silence of night, The wall whispers, reminding us that connection is the truer path. Revenge is not fulfillment, but solitude, a whisper of separation carried softly through time. The story lingers, teaching that forgiveness is the truer embrace, soft as dawn. Psychologists often describe revenge as a mirror, reflecting not only the harm done, but the one who carries it. The mind sees itself in the act shaped by shadow. Revenge here is not only about the other, but about the self, a reflection of pain. The mirror grows heavy, showing wounds, showing scars. Each act of vengeance is a gesture, but beneath it lies silence, a whisper of hurt. The mirror becomes a burden, carried across chapters, across scenes. Revenge is not healing, but reflection, a way of keeping wounds alive. The story unfolds slowly, each line a step into shadow. Readers see the mirror, but also glimpse the wound beneath. Revenge is not triumph, but concealment, a way of keeping grief alive. And in the silence of thought, the mirror whispers, reminding us that peace is the truer reflection. Revenge is not fulfillment, but burden, a whisper of memory carried softly through time. The story lingers, teaching that forgiveness is the truer mirror, soft as dawn. Studies show that revenge can feel satisfying, yet the satisfaction fades quickly. The mind seeks balance, but revenge offers only a moment. The moment passes, leaving emptiness behind. Revenge here is not fulfillment, but fleeting, a shadow of peace. The mind longs for more, for lasting calm. Each act of vengeance is a spark, but the flame dies quickly. The story unfolds slowly, each line a reminder of impermanence. Revenge is not triumph, but illusion, a way of keeping wounds alive. The satisfaction is shallow, like ripples across water. And when the ripple fades, the pond returns to stillness, carrying the memory of disturbance. Revenge is not healing, but repetition, a cycle that consumes energy. The novel becomes a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. And in the silence after, forgiveness whispers, offering what revenge cannot. Revenge is not fulfillment, but fleeting, a whisper of shadow carried softly through time. Psychologists remind us that revenge is natural, yet not necessary. The urge arises shaped by instinct, by memory, by pain. Yet the mind can choose differently, can release, can soften. Revenge here is not destiny, but option, a path among many. The choice is heavy, yet freeing, a moment of clarity. The story unfolds slowly, each line a step into possibility. Revenge is not triumph, but hesitation, a way of holding grief. Yet forgiveness is lighter, softer, gentler. The mind carries both paths, shadow and light. Revenge is not inevitability, but choice, a rhythm shaped by thought. And in the silence of choice, peace waits, soft as breath, gentle as dawn. Literature and psychology alike remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of memory, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. The story lingers, teaching that forgiveness is the truer path, soft as horizon. Across cultures, Proverbs about revenge are whispered like timeless lessons, carried from one generation to the next. They remind us that revenge is not only an act, but a reflection of human nature. Some say, "An eye for an eye," a phrase that speaks of balance, of justice returned in equal measure. Others say, "Revenge is a dish best served cold," a reminder that patience can shape retaliation. These sayings are not only words, but mirrors of human thought, carved into memory like inscriptions on stone. Revenge here is not fury, but wisdom, shaped by tradition and experience. Each proverb is a spark, a whisper of balance, a reminder that justice can be both swift and slow. They linger in memory, soft as echoes, guiding hearts toward reflection. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping the circle whole. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as dreams upon the horizon. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of memory, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their repetition, they become songs of caution, teaching that revenge is both a burden and a release. And in their wisdom, they remind us that balance is the truest form of justice. In Eastern traditions, revenge is often tempered by patience, softened by silence, and shaped by reflection. Proverbs remind us that waiting can ease anger, that time itself can carry justice. Revenge here is not sudden, but slow, unfolding like dawn across the horizon. The words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance and harmony. Revenge is not fury, but correction, shaped by wisdom and restraint. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, teaching that revenge is not fire, but water, flowing steadily until balance is restored. Revenge is not destruction, but teaching, a way of guiding hearts toward humility. And in the stillness of thought, these proverbs remain, soft as lantern light glowing in the dark. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of memory, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their patience, these sayings teach us that revenge is not a storm, but a tide, rising slowly, fading gently, leaving calm behind. And in their wisdom, they remind us that silence can be the deepest form of justice. In Western culture, revenge is often framed as justice delayed, a cold act carried out with discipline. Proverbs speak of patience, of coldness, of silence, reminding us that vengeance is best when measured. Revenge here is not fury, but discipline, shaped by tradition and law. The words carry weight, each phrase a reminder of balance and fairness. Revenge is not chaos, but order, a way of keeping bonds alive and dignity intact. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, teaching that revenge is not fire, but ice, steady, patient, enduring. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping honor alive. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as candlelight flickering in the dark. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of tradition, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their coldness, these sayings teach us that revenge is not rage, but restraint, a way of keeping harmony alive. And in their wisdom, they remind us that patience is the truest weapon. In African traditions, proverbs about revenge often carry the wisdom of community, reminding us that harm done to one is harm done to all. They teach that revenge is not only about the individual, but about the whole, about the rhythm of unity. Revenge here is not fury, but correction, shaped by the bonds of kinship. The words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance and harmony. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping the circle whole. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing like drumbeats across the land. Revenge is not destruction, but teaching, a way of guiding hearts toward respect. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as firelight glowing in the village. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of community, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their rhythm, these sayings teach us that revenge is not isolation, but connection, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in their wisdom, they remind us that unity is the truest form of justice. In Middle Eastern traditions, revenge is often framed as destiny, inevitable and certain. Proverbs speak of inevitability, of balance, of justice, reminding us that vengeance is woven into the fabric of existence. Revenge here is not fury, but law, written into the rhythm of life. The words carry weight, each phrase a reminder of balance and inevitability. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing like prayers whispered in silence. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as prophecy carried on the wind. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of destiny, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their inevitability, these sayings teach us that revenge is not choice, but fate, a path walked softly through eternity. And in their wisdom, they remind us that balance is the truest law of existence. In indigenous traditions, revenge is often softened into balance, woven into the fabric of community life. Proverbs remind us that harm done to one is harm done to all, that the wound of the individual echoes through the tribe. Revenge here is not fury, but correction, shaped by unity and respect. The words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of harmony. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping the circle whole. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing like drumbeats across the land. Revenge is not destruction, but teaching, a way of guiding hearts toward respect. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as firelight glowing in the village. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of community, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their rhythm, these sayings teach us that revenge is not isolation, but connection, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in their wisdom, they remind us that unity is the truest form of justice. Revenge becomes not a strike, but a reminder, a gentle correction that restores the circle. And in the stillness of dawn, the lesson lingers, soft as smoke rising into the sky. Many cultures remind us that patience is the heart of revenge, that time itself can be the sharpest blade. Proverbs speak of waiting, of silence, of endurance, teaching that vengeance ripens slowly. Revenge here is not fury, but discipline, shaped by the rhythm of time. The words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing softly across generations. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as dawn waiting beyond the horizon. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of patience, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their waiting, these sayings teach us that revenge is not haste, but stillness, a way of keeping harmony alive. Revenge becomes not a storm, but a tide, rising slowly, fading gently, leaving calm behind. And in their wisdom, they remind us that patience is the truest form of strength. Some proverbs remind us that forgiveness is stronger than revenge, that release is more powerful than retaliation. They speak of peace, of harmony, of letting go, teaching that vengeance is a shadow while forgiveness is light. Revenge here is not fury, but fading, a whisper that disappears into silence. The words carry warmth, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not chaos, but correction, shaped by wisdom. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing softly across hearts. Revenge is not destruction, but teaching, a way of guiding souls toward compassion. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as sunrise breaking the horizon. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of forgiveness, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their release, these sayings teach us that revenge is not strength, but softness, a way of keeping peace alive. Forgiveness becomes not weakness, but resilience, a gentle correction that restores harmony. And in their wisdom, they remind us that forgiveness is the truest form of justice, soft as dawn. Many proverbs frame revenge as justice, as balance restored, as equality returned. They speak of fairness, of harmony, of correction, teaching that vengeance is not cruelty but law. Revenge here is not fury, but rhythm, shaped by tradition and morality. The words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not chaos, but order, a way of keeping memory alive. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing softly across generations. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as stone resting in the earth. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of law, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their fairness, these sayings teach us that revenge is not cruelty, but correction, a way of keeping harmony alive. Revenge becomes not rage, but restoration, a gentle correction that restores dignity. And in their wisdom, they remind us that justice is the truest form of balance, soft as twilight. Many proverbs frame revenge as justice, as balance restored, as equality returned. They speak of fairness, of harmony, of correction, teaching that vengeance is not cruelty but law. Revenge here is not fury, but rhythm, shaped by tradition and morality. The words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not chaos, but order, a way of keeping memory alive. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing softly across generations. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as stone resting in the earth. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of law, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their fairness, these sayings teach us that revenge is not cruelty, but correction, a way of keeping harmony alive. Revenge becomes not rage, but restoration, a gentle correction that restores dignity. And in their wisdom, they remind us that justice is the truest form of balance, soft as twilight. Across cultures, revenge is often framed as balance, a way of restoring what has been disturbed. Proverbs speak of equality, of harmony, of justice, reminding us that vengeance is not always cruelty but correction. Revenge here is not fury, but rhythm, shaped by wisdom and tradition. The words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of fairness. Revenge is not chaos, but order, a way of keeping memory alive. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing softly across generations. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as stone resting in the earth. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of balance, a whisper of harmony carried softly through time. In their equality, these sayings teach us that revenge is not cruelty, but fairness, a way of keeping harmony alive. Revenge becomes not rage, but restoration, a gentle correction that restores dignity. And in their wisdom, they remind us that balance is the truest form of justice, soft as twilight. Some proverbs remind us that revenge is destiny, inevitable and certain, woven into the fabric of existence. They speak of fate, of law, of inevitability, teaching that vengeance is not choice but path. Revenge here is not fury, but rhythm, shaped by destiny and inevitability. The words carry weight, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not chaos, but law, written into the rhythm of life. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing like prophecy whispered in silence. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as stars upon the horizon. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of destiny, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their inevitability, these sayings teach us that revenge is not choice, but fate, a path walked softly through eternity. Revenge becomes not a strike, but a step, a gentle correction that restores law. And in their wisdom, they remind us that destiny is the truest form of justice, soft as dawn. Many proverbs remind us that revenge is not only about the self, but about the community, about the bonds that tie people together. They speak of unity, of harmony, of justice, teaching that vengeance is not isolation but connection. Revenge here is not fury, but correction, shaped by tradition and kinship. The words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing like drumbeats across the land. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as firelight glowing in the village. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of community, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their rhythm, these sayings teach us that revenge is not isolation, but unity, a way of keeping harmony alive. Revenge becomes not rage, but restoration, a gentle correction that restores dignity. And in their wisdom, they remind us that community is the truest form of justice, soft as twilight. Some proverbs remind us that revenge is reflection, a mirror held up to the self. They speak of memory, of thought, of contemplation, teaching that vengeance is not only about the other but about the one who carries it. Revenge here is not fury, but shadow, shaped by reflection and silence. The words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing softly across hearts. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping wounds alive. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as breath. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of reflection, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their quietness, these sayings teach us that revenge is not noise, but stillness, a way of keeping peace alive. Revenge becomes not a strike, but a pause, a gentle correction that restores dignity. And in their wisdom, they remind us that reflection is the truest form of justice, soft as dawn. Across the world, proverbs about revenge become universal lessons, carried across cultures, across generations. They remind us that vengeance is not only about justice, but about memory, about balance, about harmony. Revenge here is not fury, but rhythm, shaped by wisdom and tradition. The words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of fairness. Revenge is not chaos, but order, a way of keeping memory alive. The sayings linger, carried by wind, by memory, by dream, echoing softly across centuries. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. And in the silence of night, these proverbs remain, soft as stars upon the horizon. They remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of wisdom, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. In their universality, these sayings teach us that revenge is not cruelty, but correction, a way of keeping harmony alive. Revenge becomes not rage, but restoration, a gentle correction that restores dignity. And in their wisdom, they remind us that proverbs are the truest form of justice, soft as twilight, guiding hearts across the ages. In the modern era, duels became a ritualized form of revenge, a way of restoring dignity through measured confrontation. Two individuals would meet in silence, their weapons gleaming in the early light. Revenge here was not chaos, but ceremony, shaped by rules and tradition. Each step was deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. The duel was not only about victory, but about closure, about ending cycles of grievance. The ground beneath them held the memory of each strike, each pause. Revenge was not fury, but ritual, a way of keeping honor alive. The duel became a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. And when silence returned, the story lingered, soft as twilight. Revenge was not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping dignity intact. The duel carried justice, not in rage, but in rhythm, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. And in the stillness after, the lesson remained, soft as dawn. In modern times, vendettas carried the weight of tradition, stretching across families, across generations. Revenge here was not sudden, but slow, unfolding like twilight across years. Each act was deliberate, each gesture heavy with memory. Vendettas were not only about justice, but about loyalty, about bonds that could not be broken. The feud became a rhythm, a cycle, a wheel turning endlessly. Revenge was not fury, but continuity, a way of keeping memory alive. The story unfolded slowly, each line a step into destiny. Vendettas became mirrors, reflecting human longing for balance. And in the silence of night, the feud lingered, soft as shadow. Revenge was not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. The vendetta carried justice, not in rage, but in rhythm, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. And in their persistence, they remind us that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of memory, soft as twilight. In cinema, revenge became a story told in light and shadow, carried across screens and hearts. Characters wronged sought justice, their journeys unfolding in silence and sound. Revenge here was not fury, but narrative, shaped by rhythm and reflection. Each scene was deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. The film became a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. Revenge was not chaos, but story, a way of keeping memory alive. The screen carried justice, not in rage, but in rhythm, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. The audience watched, feeling the weight of vengeance, the emptiness of triumph. Revenge was not fulfillment, but shadow, fading into silence. And in the stillness after the film, the lesson lingered, soft as dream. Cinema taught that revenge is not only about justice, but about reflection. A whisper of balance carried softly through time. And in its rhythm, it reminded us that vengeance is both a burden and a release. In everyday life, revenge became subtle, carried in gestures, in silence, in pauses. It was not always dramatic, but often quiet, woven into daily rhythms. Revenge here was not fury, but correction, shaped by memory and patience. Each act was deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. Revenge was not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping balance alive. The story unfolded slowly, each moment a step into reflection. Revenge was not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping dignity intact. Everyday acts of vengeance became mirrors, reflecting human longing for justice. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingered, soft as twilight. Revenge was not fulfillment, but shadow, fading into silence. The rhythm of daily life carried justice, not in rage, but in balance, a whisper carried softly through time. And in its persistence, it reminded us that revenge is not only about justice, but about memory, soft as dawn. In modern politics, revenge often appears as a quiet undercurrent, shaping decisions and alliances. Leaders wronged may wait years before responding, their actions carried out not in haste but in silence. Revenge here is not fury, but strategy, shaped by patience and calculation. Each gesture is deliberate, each pause heavy with meaning. Politics becomes a stage where vengeance is woven into policy, into law, into subtle shifts of power. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. The story unfolds slowly, each act a step into destiny. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping dignity intact. The political arena becomes a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, soft as twilight. Revenge is not fulfillment, but shadow, fading into silence. The rhythm of politics carries justice, not in rage, but in balance, a whisper carried softly through time. And in its persistence, it reminds us that revenge is not only about justice, but about memory, soft as dawn. In the age of technology, revenge takes new forms, carried through networks, through screens, through silence. Cyber retaliation becomes a shadow, unseen yet felt, a whisper across wires. Revenge here is not fury, but code, shaped by patience and precision. Each act is deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. The digital world becomes a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. The story unfolds slowly, each click a step into shadow. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping dignity intact. The network carries justice, not in rage, but in rhythm, a whisper carried softly through time. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, soft as twilight. Revenge is not fulfillment, but shadow, fading into silence. Technology teaches that vengeance is not only about justice, but about reflection, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. And in its persistence, it reminds us that revenge is both burden and release. In modern social movements, revenge often appears as collective memory, carried by communities seeking justice. Harm done to one becomes harm done to all, and retaliation becomes a rhythm of solidarity. Revenge here is not fury, but correction, shaped by unity and persistence. Each act is deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. Movements become mirrors, reflecting human longing for balance. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. The story unfolds slowly, each march a step into destiny. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping bonds alive. The movement carries justice, not in rage, but in rhythm, a whisper carried softly through time. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, soft as twilight. Revenge is not fulfillment, but shadow, fading into silence. Social movements teach that vengeance is not only about justice, but about community, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. And in their persistence, they remind us that revenge is both burden and release. In modern media, revenge becomes a story told in headlines, in broadcasts, in whispers across screens. Characters wronged are mirrored in real lives, their journeys unfolding in silence and sound. Revenge here is not fury, but narrative, shaped by rhythm and reflection. Each headline is deliberate, each story heavy with meaning. The media becomes a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. Revenge is not chaos, but story, a way of keeping memory alive. The broadcast carries justice, not in rage, but in rhythm, a whisper carried softly through time. The audience watches, feeling the weight of vengeance, the emptiness of triumph. Revenge is not fulfillment, but shadow, fading into silence. And in the stillness after the story, the lesson lingers, soft as dream. Media teaches that revenge is not only about justice, but about reflection, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. And in its rhythm, it reminds us that vengeance is both burden and release. In modern personal relationships, revenge often appears as silence, as distance, as pause. It is not always dramatic, but often quiet, woven into daily rhythms. Revenge here is not fury, but correction, shaped by memory and patience. Each act is deliberate, each gesture heavy with meaning. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping balance alive. The story unfolds slowly, each moment a step into reflection. Revenge is not destruction, but remembrance, a way of keeping dignity intact. Everyday acts of vengeance become mirrors, reflecting human longing for justice. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, soft as twilight. Revenge is not fulfillment, but shadow, fading into silence. The rhythm of daily life carries justice, not in rage, but in balance, a whisper carried softly through time. And in its persistence, it reminds us that revenge is not only about justice, but about memory, soft as dawn. Relationships teach that vengeance is not only about correction, but about reflection, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. Philosophers often frame revenge as a moral question, asking whether retaliation restores justice or perpetuates harm. Revenge here is not only an act, but a dilemma, a crossroads between instinct and reason. The mind lingers on the choice, weighing balance against compassion. Each thought is a step, each pause a silence, shaping the path forward. Revenge is not fury, but reflection, a way of exploring human nature. The question unfolds slowly, each argument a breath, each counterpoint a whisper. Revenge is not chaos, but contemplation, a rhythm of thought carried softly through time. Philosophers remind us that vengeance may satisfy the heart but burden the soul. The dilemma becomes a mirror, reflecting human longing for justice. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, soft as twilight. Revenge is not fulfillment, but hesitation, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. The moral question remains, teaching that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of choice, soft as dawn. Philosophers often distinguish revenge from justice, reminding us that one is personal while the other is universal. Revenge here is not law, but emotion, shaped by memory and grief. Justice is balance, impartial, steady, while revenge is shadow, personal, heavy. Each act of vengeance is deliberate, but justice seeks harmony beyond the self. The distinction unfolds slowly, each thought a step into reflection. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping wounds alive. Justice is not fury, but correction, a way of keeping the circle whole. The philosopher's words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not fulfillment, but burden, a whisper of shadow carried softly through time. Justice becomes the truer path, soft as sunrise, steady as stone. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, teaching that revenge is not justice, but memory, soft as twilight. Philosophers often compare revenge to forgiveness, reminding us that one binds while the other releases. Revenge here is not freedom but attachment, a chain linking thought to memory. Forgiveness is lighter, softer, gentler, a way of carrying peace instead of shadow. Each act of vengeance is deliberate, but forgiveness is a pause, a silence, a breath. The comparison unfolds slowly, each thought a step into reflection. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping wounds alive. Forgiveness is not fury, but release, a way of keeping harmony intact. The philosopher's words carry warmth, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not fulfillment, but burden, a whisper of shadow carried softly through time. Forgiveness becomes the truer path, soft as dawn, steady as horizon. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, teaching that revenge is not strength, but softness, a whisper of balance carried softly through time. Philosophers often describe revenge as part of human nature, an instinct shaped by survival and memory. Revenge here is not choice, but impulse, carried like a shadow through time. The mind feels the urge, the heart carries the weight, the body responds with tension. Yet philosophy reminds us that instinct can be softened, shaped by thought, shaped by reflection. Each act of vengeance is deliberate, but the urge itself is ancient, primal, deep. The reflection unfolds slowly, each thought a step into destiny. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. Human nature carries both shadow and light, both vengeance and forgiveness. The philosopher's words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not fulfillment, but instinct, a whisper of shadow carried softly through time. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, teaching that revenge is not destiny, but choice, soft as dawn. Philosophers often ask whether revenge gives meaning or emptiness, whether it restores balance or deepens shadow. Revenge here is not only an act, but a question, a reflection of human longing. The mind lingers on the thought, weighing satisfaction against silence. Each act of vengeance is deliberate, but the meaning fades quickly, leaving emptiness behind. The question unfolds slowly, each thought a step into reflection. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping wounds alive. Meaning is not fury, but harmony, a way of keeping the circle whole. The philosopher's words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not fulfillment, but shadow, fading into silence. Meaning becomes the truer path, soft as dawn, steady as horizon. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, teaching that revenge is not meaning, but memory, soft as twilight. Philosophy reminds us that true meaning lies not in vengeance, but in peace, a whisper carried softly through time. Philosophers often remind us that revenge is not only about the other, but about the self. The act of retaliation reflects the one who carries it, shaping identity, shaping destiny. Revenge here is not fury, but mirror, showing wounds, showing scars. Each act of vengeance is deliberate, but beneath it lies silence, a whisper of hurt. The mirror grows heavy, carried across chapters, across lives. Revenge is not healing, but reflection, a way of keeping wounds alive. The question unfolds slowly, each thought a step into shadow. The philosopher's words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not fulfillment, but burden, a whisper of shadow carried softly through time. And in the silence of thought, the mirror whispers, reminding us that peace is the truer reflection. Revenge becomes not triumph, but concealment, a way of keeping grief alive. And in their wisdom, philosophers teach that the self is shaped not by vengeance, but by release, soft as dawn. Philosophers often describe revenge as a social act, carried not only by individuals but by communities. Revenge here is not fury, but rhythm, shaped by tradition and law. Each act of vengeance is deliberate, but society itself carries the weight. The reflection unfolds slowly, each thought a step into destiny. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. Communities carry vengeance like a torch, passing it from one generation to the next. The philosopher's words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not fulfillment, but burden, a whisper of shadow carried softly through time. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, teaching that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of community, soft as twilight. Society becomes a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. And in their wisdom, philosophers teach that true justice is not vengeance, but harmony, soft as dawn. Philosophers often frame revenge in relation to time, reminding us that vengeance is shaped by patience, by delay, by silence. Revenge here is not fury, but rhythm, unfolding slowly across years. Each act of vengeance is deliberate, but time itself carries the weight. The reflection unfolds slowly, each thought a step into eternity. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping memory alive. Time carries vengeance like a shadow, lingering long after the act. The philosopher's words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not fulfillment, but burden, a whisper of shadow carried softly through time. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, teaching that revenge is not only about justice, but about the persistence of memory, soft as twilight. Time becomes a mirror, reflecting human longing for balance. And in their wisdom, philosophers teach that true justice is not vengeance, but release, soft as dawn. Philosophers often ask whether revenge brings freedom or chains, whether retaliation liberates or binds. Revenge here is not freedom but attachment, a chain linking thought to memory. Each act of vengeance is deliberate, but the chain grows heavier, shaping destiny. The reflection unfolds slowly, each thought a step into shadow. Revenge is not chaos, but rhythm, a way of keeping wounds alive. Freedom is not fury, but release, a way of keeping harmony intact. The philosopher's words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not fulfillment, but burden, a whisper of shadow carried softly through time. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, teaching that revenge is not freedom, but restraint, soft as twilight. Freedom becomes the truer path, soft as dawn, steady as horizon. And in their wisdom, philosophers teach that vengeance is not liberation, but memory, a whisper carried softly through time. Philosophers often place revenge within the larger question of life's meaning, asking whether retaliation adds to existence or diminishes it. Revenge here is not only an act, but a reflection of human longing for balance. Each thought is a step, each pause a silence, shaping the path forward. Revenge is not fury, but rhythm, a way of keeping wounds alive. Meaning is not found in vengeance, but in harmony, in peace, in release. The reflection unfolds slowly, each thought a step into eternity. The philosopher's words carry dignity, each phrase a reminder of balance. Revenge is not fulfillment, but shadow, fading into silence. Meaning becomes the truer path, soft as dawn, steady as horizon. And in the silence of thought, the lesson lingers, teaching that revenge is not meaning, but memory, soft as twilight. Philosophy reminds us that true meaning lies not in vengeance, but in peace, a whisper carried softly through time. And in their wisdom, philosophers teach that life's meaning is not found in retaliation, but in forgiveness, soft as sunrise. Now, you don't need to hold on to anything at all. If your mind is still gently turning, let it move slowly, like a microscope knob being carefully adjusted into focus, then softly ease back again. Let your breath settle into its own natural rhythm. Feel the quiet weight of your body resting exactly where it is. Soften your jaw. Let your shoulders sink down. There is nothing to figure out, nothing to remember, nothing to get right. If you enjoyed this journey, you're welcome to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. One sleepy soul at a time will continue exploring together. There will always be another video waiting for you. The lights grow dim, and the world can wait until morning. Sleep well. Good night.